So I wanted to share a story about when I was going through and healing my gut, and a story that I learned quite a bit from through the process and can save you a ton of time and a ton of headaches and probably even a ton of money on your gut healing journey. I remember when I was trying to heal my gut and I had a lot of issues. I had skin issues, I had allergies, I had rashes, I had all this stuff going on. And then I went down the rabbit hole of Google and I found out I had candida and I had parasites and I had all these things going on, adrenal fatigue, and just constantly researching, constantly trying to diagnose this. And I got lost down the rabbit hole of trying to go on a super strict protocol of, hey, if I have candida, I have to go on a super strict protocol for candida and do everything I can. And I remember I eliminated all carbs out of my diet. I eliminated all this stuff, and I had this bucket of supplements, and I was taking all these antifungals and herbs and all this different stuff, and I was not feeling better. There was actually times that I would start to feel worse, and I was ready to give up, and I wanted to just sort of throw in the towel. And then there was other times that I heard about fasting and colonics and all this other stuff, so I tried that too. And that sort of made me feel worse. There were days that I've tried to fast for 2 or 3 days in a row, and my rash was worse. My symptoms was worse. I felt horrible. I felt, whether you want to call it die-off or whatever, just those reactions that you go through when you're trying to clean out your gut. And it was a lot of years of struggle and trial and error. And it wasn't until the point that I took a step back from that and sort of got down to the root of the issue. You see, parasites and candida and adrenal fatigue and all this stuff that may be going on is actually just a symptom of an underlying issue. And that underlying issue is our gut is out of order. So the state of our gut is out of order. When we focus on that and we get it in order as best as possible, all the other stuff starts to sort of disappear. Because right now, if you have candida and you have parasites and you have all this stuff going on, that means that you have an environment inside your gut right now that is harboring those pathogens, that is harboring that type of bacteria. It's sort of like a swamp in there. And they're feeding off the food that you're eating. They're eating off the sugars. They're eating off all this other stuff. And then, so what do? We know we have it. We restrict our food so much. And then on top of that, we take these super powerful supplements and we try to kill this thing. And all of a sudden, we feel worse. And I've tried all of that and years, and it was just a struggle, and it was a headache, and I wanted to give up. And it wasn't until I took the step back and just focused on my gut as a whole instead of this one particular organism and trying to kill it. When I focused on my gut, it started to clear the parasites. It started to clear candida. My allergies started going away. My skin started to clear. My sinuses started to clear up. I started to feel so much better. I didn't have that adrenal fatigue anymore. I started to actually feel energetic after I ate food. And the key was focusing on the gut as a whole. Now, when we restrict things too much, we starve the body of nutrition. And on top of that, we take supplements that are way too strong. And they cause detox reactions and die-off and all this stuff. And we actually feel worse before we feel better. Now, if we ease into this process and we focus on the gut, you'll actually find that you may heal a lot faster, and it's really not that hard. It's not that difficult. So surprisingly, I got rid of all that stuff. I was eating fruit. Yeah, occasionally I had dried fruit. There's a lot of things I was eating, and I was able to get rid of that stuff. When I actually finally healed my skin, and I finally was at the point in my life where I was like, hey, you know what? I feel healed. I feel that my symptoms are gone. That time was actually much more simpler than anything I had done in the past. And it really came down to really focusing on the irritants that were coming in, really focusing on the triggers that were coming in. See, it's not just the carbs. It's not let's blame fruit and all that other stuff. It's actually deeper than that. When the gut is out of order, we get sensitive to a lot of other foods that we may not even be aware of. And those culprits are usually the 4 main gut culprits. And that usually is dairy at the top of the list. Second is eggs. Third is usually grains and legumes and beans and things like that. And fourth is nuts and seeds. Now, before we go blaming a particular supplement or a particular piece of fruit, let's take a step back and examine, are we still having those things? And how are they affecting our digestion? And if we look at that, you can use the Bristol stool chart to know exactly what is happening inside your gut. Whether you're constipated, whether you are more prone to loose stools and diarrhea, that means there's a lot of irritation in there. We need to get as close to a number 4 on the Bristol stool chart as possible. When we do that, we know that we're getting closer to healing. Because if the gut is out of order and it's constantly getting irritated and it's constantly just having these irritants come in, these triggers come in, then of course it's never going to heal, and we're always going to have an environment that harbors these pathogens and these organisms. When we focus on healing the gut properly, then we make a lot of headway. And a great place to start, instead of focusing on all the stuff that we have to restrict or take out, would be, let's clean the canvas and maybe look into something like an autoimmune paleo protocol. And take a look at that diet, because that diet is nut and seed free. It doesn't have any grains. It doesn't have any legumes. It doesn't have any dairy. It doesn't have any eggs. It doesn't have any of that stuff that would be causing irritation inside the gut. So maybe try to start from there, and don't worry about these crazy supplements to try to kill this thing. If we focus on just rebuilding the gut properly by, number 1, not having irritants and triggers come in, number 2, supporting it as best as we can, chewing our food thoroughly, maybe taking digestive bitters, of course taking a probiotic if you're sensitive, maybe a soil-based probiotic, taking digestive enzymes to assure that the food that you're eating is actually breaking down properly. So maybe start there first and then see, and you'll be surprised as to how many of your issues clear up. Now, that's all completely dependent on exactly how severe your case is, but I can tell you from experience, my case was very, very, very severe. Food sensitivities, histamine issues, a rash all over my entire body for years that I was not able to get rid of. And it wasn't until I just, what I just shared with you on this video, about taking that step back, really starting from a clean slate of natural food, meats, vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and supporting the body with enzymes and chewing my food and tongue scraping and all stuff to support the body. I didn't need all those crazy herbs. I didn't need all those crazy other supplements, because there was nothing to kill. The things naturally left on their own by me supporting the correct environment for that to happen. So I hope this helps you out. If you have not tried an approach like that, maybe consider trying it. Even if you try it for a week, 2 weeks, see what happens. Because this is for the people that, if you're watching this video and you're trying these strict protocols and you're taking all these supplements, maybe even some of you are seeing all these practitioners and you're not getting better, that's probably the reason. It was definitely the reason for me, and it may be the reason for you. And I can tell you, after I did this approach that I just shared with you, my skin started to clear within about 3 weeks. And of course, yeah, some things came out, some candida, some parasites, but these things naturally left. I didn't go in with an attack plan to try to attack them. I just supported the proper environment so they wouldn't grow. It's just like a lake. If the lake is all swampy and stagnant, there's a lot of mosquitoes and bugs and all this stuff that is there. Do we blame the bugs and mosquitoes? No, we got to get in there, we got to clean the water, we got to clean the lake, we got to clean the environment, and then once that happens, the mosquitoes and the bugs and the algae don't want to stick around. So it's not their fault, it's the environment's fault. When we focus on making the proper environment, you can make tremendous headway in your health. I'm Nick Vidal. If you found this helpful, leave a comment below. Hit that like button and let me know what your questions and concerns are, and I'll be sure to answer that on the next video. So I'm Nick, and I'll see you on the very next video.